Welcome back to the deep dive. So we're doing something a little different today.
A lot different.
Yeah. Usually when we meet here, we're unpacking, a massive industry report or a breaking scientific paper.
Right, or some thick nonfiction book that's hitting the bestseller lists.
Exactly. But today, we're kind of time traveling. We are going to the future specifically, January 30th, 2026.
It sounds like sci-fi, but it's actually the opposite. I mean, we aren't looking at flying cars or AI takeovers, not at all.
Well,
We are looking at the small web. No algorithms, no ads, no viral hooks, just a personal blog from a site called qianmeng.org.
and the post is titled Notes on Fishkeeping, Part 184, Life After Loss in the Cichlid Tank.
Part 184.
I have to admit, when I first saw Part 184, I did a complete double take. Most people don't write 184 words about their pets, let alone 184 separate entries. It feels.
Excessive.
Yeah, excessive.
It feels excessive until you realize what you're actually looking at. On the surface, sure, this is a story about a fish dying and a tank recovering. But if you scratch that surface, this isn't about fish at all.
Right.
It's a masterclass in systems thinking. It's about how an old software plumber, and that's how the author describes himself, debugs the biological world.
Software plumber.
Yeah.
I got stuck on that phrase, too. It implies he's not just writing code, he's fixing the pipes, making sure the data flows, dealing with all the messy stuff.
Exactly. And today we're going to see what happens when that mindset, that rigorous, logical, debugging mindset, meets the chaotic, messy reality of an aquarium. We've got a tragedy, a survivor.
And a whole lot of data points that kind of challenge how we think about speed and efficiency.
You got it.
Okay, I'm intrigued. A software plumber managing a fish tank. So let's jump in. Set the scene for us. What's the situation in this tank on January 30th?
It starts on a pretty somber note. We're dropped right into the middle of the timeline. A female Polar Parrot Cichlid has died. The author notes it was due to illness. Now, in a typical social media post, this is where you'd get the sad emoji, the RIP.
Right, the thoughts and prayers of the pet world.
But here, the emotion is processed almost immediately into logic. The focus shifts instantly to the survivor, the male cichlid, and the status of the ecosystem.
Okay.
The male has been kept in the spawning tank, but with the female gone, that tank has been repurposed. It's now a growing tank for the juveniles.
The show must go on. But the male fish, he isn't just, loitering, right?
Yeah.
The author gave him a job. And I gotta say, the job title sounds pretty noble. He calls him a guardian.
He does, but we need to be careful with that word. Guardian sounds protective, like a bouncer at a club or something.
A sheepdog watching the flock.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you read the text closely, his actual function is much more utilitarian. The text says his role is clearing up any unfinished fish pellets.
Okay, so he's not a bouncer.
No.
He's a janitor.
Essentially, yes, a janitor.
I have to play devil's advocate here. Isn't that a bit cold? You have this grieving fish, and I know, assuming fish grieve is a whole other debate, but his new purpose in life is to eat the leftovers that the kids drop. It feels remarkably unsentimental.
It sounds cold if you look at it emotionally, but look at it through that software plumber lens we talked about.
Okay.
In computer science, specifically in programming languages like Java or Go, which, by the way, the author actually uses, there is a critical process called garbage collection.
I've heard the term. That's when the computer frees up memory that isn't being used anymore.
Exactly. When a program runs, it uses memory. When it's done with that data, if it doesn't release it, that memory becomes garbage. And if you let garbage pile up, the system gets sluggish, it creates errors, eventually it crashes. We call that a memory leak.
Okay, I follow the tech side.
Yeah.
But how does that apply to a fish tank? What's the memory leak in an aquarium?
The uneaten food. In an aquarium, uneaten food isn't just clutter, it's dangerous data.
Dangerous data.
As it sits on the bottom, it rots. As it breaks down, it releases ammonia. And ammonia is highly toxic to fish. It burns their gills. It stresses their immune systems. So if you leave that data, the food unprocessed, the environment becomes poisonous.
So the male fish, by eating the leftovers, is literally preventing a system crash.
He is an automated garbage collection agent. The author has engineered a self-cleaning loop. He's keeping the adult male with the juveniles not just for companionship, but to ensure 100% resource efficiency, no wasted inputs.
No toxic outputs.
You got it.
That is a wild way to look at a pet. It's treating the ecosystem like a server architecture. You don't want unused files clogging up the hard drive.
And it works. The author notes that this is temporary. He plans to find a new mate eventually, but for now, the system is stable. The guardian keeps the water quality high just by doing what he does naturally. eating.
Which brings us to the next generation, the juveniles, the source code for the future, I guess.
You could say that, yeah. The status report on the babies is promising. They're surfacing for food, and the author mentions that distinct vertical stripes have begun to emerge on their small bodies.
They're earning their stripes.
Literally. But this is where the author takes a really sharp turn away from standard practice. He stops looking at his tank and looks at the industry, and he sees a huge discrepancy in how to raise these little packets of data.
Right. The source material mentions commercial fish farms.
Yeah.
And the numbers he cites are, well, they're staggering.
Commercial farms are driven by one metric: turnover. Time is money. The faster a fish gets to market size, the faster you can sell it. To do that, the industry standard is to feed them 3 to 6 times a day.
6 times a day? That sounds like a full-time job.
It is. And it's not just food quantity. The text also mentions the use of growth hormones.
Oh, wow.
It's basically a brute force attack on biology. You are forcing the organism to process energy way faster than it naturally would.
It's like overclocking a CPU in a computer. You make it run faster, you pump up the voltage, but you generate a ton of heat and maybe shorten the lifespan of the chip.
That is a perfect analogy. Overclocking. You get performance, but you lose stability. And our software plumber author looks at that industrial model and just says, nope, I'm running at stock speeds. He calls it a natural pace.
So what is his protocol? If the industry is doing 6 feeds a day plus hormones, what is he doing?
1 feed a day. That's a massive drop.
And he goes even further. He implements a weekly fasting day.
Okay, hang on. I understand not power feeding them to make them explode in size, but starving them once a week, for baby fish especially. If the goal is survival and growth, isn't withholding food, counterproductive?
This is the most counterintuitive part of the whole thing, but it's also maybe the most insightful biologically. I mean, why do we assume constant input is good?
Right.
In the wild, a cichlid doesn't have a waiter bringing pellets every 4 hours. They evolved in environments of scarcity.
So their bodies are actually designed for breaks. Exactly. The author's stated goal is to improve their digestive health. Think about it mechanically. Digestion is energy intensive. It requires blood flow, enzyme production. It creates inflammation. It produces waste. By fasting them, he's allowing the gut biome to reset. He's letting the liver rest.
It sounds a lot like intermittent fasting for humans. You see all these tech bros in Silicon Valley doing it for mental clarity, and this guy is applying it to his fish.
It's resilience engineering. If you feed a fish 6 times a day, you get a big fish fast. But it's often a fragile fish. Its organs are taxed. Its liver is fatty. If you feed it once a day and fast it regularly, you get a slower growing fish, but arguably a much more robust one.
It's slow living applied to biology.
Totally.
Quality over quantity. He's not optimizing for the release date when the fish is big enough to sell. He's optimizing for uptime, how long the fish stays alive and healthy.
And that requires patience. In a world where everyone wants a hack to speed things up, get rich quick, lose weight fast, he's deliberately slowing things down. He trusts the code of the fish's DNA more than he trusts the food.
It's interesting because slow usually implies lazy or inefficient. But here, slow is actually a strategy for stability.
Precisely.
So assuming these slow-growth juveniles survive, what's the end game? They can't stay in that repurposed spawning tank forever?
No. And this is where the software plumber starts acting like a systems architect. He actually outlines a roadmap.
Roadmap for fish.
A migration plan. He writes that once they reach maturity, the near future plan is to relocate them to separate outdoor ponds on his backyard balcony.
Ponds on a balcony. I'm picturing those big plastic tubs or maybe some glazed pots.
Probably. But the key detail isn't the container, it's the integration. He says they will be integrated with suitable semi-aquatic plants.
Okay, so why does that matter? Why not just get a bigger glass tank inside?
Because a glass tank is a cage. A pond with plants is a biotope. It's a closed-loop system. Remember the ammonia we talked about?
The waste?
It's a memory leak. Right. In a glass tank, you have to manually change the water to get rid of that waste. But in a planted pond, the plants eat that nitrate. They use the fish waste as fertilizer, and in return, they purify the water for the fish.
It's the circular economy. The fish feed the plants clean the house.
It's scaling up. Think of the current tank as the development environment. It's where he tests the code, monitors the variables, fixes the bugs like the garbage collection with the male fish.
Okay.
The outdoor pond, that's production. That's the live server. It's a more complex, self-sustaining system that can just run on its own.
I really like that distinction. Moving from dev to prod, it feels like he's building a world, not just keeping pets.
He is, but to really understand why he's doing all this, why he cares about nitrogen cycles and gut biomes, we have to look at the man himself. We need to step away from the fish tank and look at the browser window.
The sidebar.
The metadata.
So I did what you told me to do before the show. I went to the archives of qianming.org. I looked at the logs for January 2026, and I have to say, my jaw hit the floor.
It is a staggering amount of documentation, isn't it?
The sheer volume. This fish post is dated January 30th. By that date, he had posted 90 times in 1 month.
That's an average of 3 posts a day, every single day.
And it's not just fish, fish, fish. I'm looking at the list here. We have notes on Haskell programming, part 45, notes on photography, part 226, notes on dieting, part 114, and the one that really scared me, notes on gardening.
Do you see the number on that one?
Part 792.
Yeah.
792 separate notes on gardening. Who is this person?
This is what I call the documentarian learner. This isn't a person who just dabbles. This is someone who treats learning itself as a rigorous discipline.
It's almost overwhelming. How does one person maintain expertise in Haskell, which is a notoriously difficult programming language, while also tracking the vertical stripes on a baby cichlid and the pH level of his soil for his 792nd gardening update?
It suggests a unified theory of life. He doesn't see them as separate hobbies.
They're all systems.
They're all systems. Look at the languages he lists in his projects. Elixir, Python, Rust, Go. These are all about logic, structure, efficiency. He takes that same brain and applies it to the garden. A garden is just a system with inputs, sun, water, soil, and outputs, tomatoes, flowers. If the tomato fails,
it's a bug.
It's a bug, and you write a commit message, a note to document the bug fix.
Notes on gardening part 792 is basically bug fix. Adjusted sunlight variable.
Exactly.
That's a powerful way to live. It just takes the ego out of failure completely.
It does. A normal person kills a houseplant and thinks, I'm bad at gardening, I have a black thumb. This guy kills a houseplant and thinks, insufficient data, need to adjust water parameters, logging error in part 793.
It turns failure into data.
And because he documents it publicly, I mean, the sidebar links to the Free Software Foundation, the EFF, Wikipedia. He believes in open source. He is open sourcing his life. He's saying, here's my code. It might be buggy. My fish might die. My code might not compile, but I'm showing you the logs.
That transparency is so rare. Usually on the internet, we only see the highlight reel. We see the prize-winning cichlid, not the one that died of illness. We see the harvest, not the dead seedlings.
Which brings us right back to that software plumber identity. Plumbers deal with the messy stuff, the leaks. He's comfortable with the messiness of learning because he has a system to manage it.
It also strikes me as a form of, I don't know, protection. We talked about the fish dying at the start. If your entire identity is, I am the fish guy, and your fish dies, you're crushed.
Right, identity collapse.
But if you are the polymath plumber and the fish dies, well, that's sad. But you still have photography part 226 and your guitar practice. You're diversified.
It's an emotional hedge portfolio. By having 15 active projects, no single failure can bankrupt your happiness or your sense of self-worth. You just shift focus to the next node in the network.
I want to circle back to the slow living aspect one last time.
Yeah.
We have this high-tech brain, this massive output of data. 90 posts a month is huge. But the actual method inside the tank is slow, fasting, once-a-day feeding.
It's the paradox of efficiency. The author knows that to go fast effectively, you have to go slow deliberately. If you rush code, you get bugs. If you rush the fish, you get sickness. The documentation, the 792 notes, that's the speed. But the physical execution, that has to honor the natural rhythm.
He's thinking at the speed of fiber optics, but acting at the speed of nature.
That's the deep dive right there, the sweet spot between the digital and the biological.
So let's just recap what we've uncovered in this trip to 2026. We've unpacked the ecosystem reset. We've seen the guardian fish acting as a biological garbage collector to prevent that ammonia memory leak.
A perfect example of functional ecology.
Yeah. We've analyzed the slow growth fasting protocol and why starving a fish can actually be an act of care.
Quality over quantity, resilience over speed.
And we've marveled at the sheer persistence of a man writing his nearly 800th note on plants, treating his life like an open source project.
It's a lot to take away from a single blog post about a fish tank.
It really is. It makes you wonder what else is hidden in the small web if you just take the time to look.
It's where the real human data is, not the curated algorithmic stuff, the real logs.
So here's my final thought for you listening. We've been talking about notes on fish keeping, but I want you to imagine notes on your name.
Part 1?
Exactly. Part 1. If you tracked the variables in your life with the rigor of a software plumber,
Yeah.
what would you find?
Most of us are just guessing. We feel tired, so we drink coffee. We feel bad, so we scroll our phones. We don't check the logs.
Right. Maybe your system crashes every Thursday afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know why because you haven't written it down. Maybe you have a memory leak in your budget.
Right.
Or maybe you need a weekly fast from something.
A fast from social media, a fast from news.
Could be to let the mental digestion rest, to let the system reset.
Debug your reality.
Debug your reality.
Yeah.
I like that. Start your own log. Maybe you won't get to part 792, but part 1 is a pretty good start. Thanks for diving in with us.
See you in the deep end.